I spend hours on crypto Twitter, so you don't have to. Here's what's happening. A crypto fraudster just got a 15-year sentence. This one is a little bit of a blast from the past. A few years ago, there was a crypto founder named Do Kwon who was well known in crypto Twitter world. His company was called Terraform Labs, and it built a bunch of crypto products. One of those was the Terra protocol, and something that was supposed to be a stablecoin. Do Kwon was extradited to the US at the end of last year. He then pleaded guilty to several charges in US courts, and he just received this super long prison sentence. This caught crypto Twitter's attention because, people reasonably like a good scandal. Reading about heroes and villains is of course very interesting. But I actually think this is a great opportunity to talk about something known as algorithmic stablecoins. The concept of a stablecoin is that it's supposed to remain equal in value to its underlying currency. So for example, there are stablecoins that are intended to match the US dollar. A well-known version of this is USDC. The stable part of stablecoin is that at all times, one USDC on chain should be equivalent to one US dollar off chain. If you have a dollar and I have one USDC, we should feel happy swapping those. They should be the same in value. That's the concept and the goal. And if all goes well, these are extremely useful for taking actions on chain. For example, if you want to buy $15 worth of some asset, you can use $15 of USDC to do that trade. In theory, there are a few ways to make a stablecoin actually stable. The one that's proven most reliable and is becoming US law for US issuers is to actually back a stablecoin with its underlying currency. So if you're a stablecoin issuer and you want to put $1 worth of the stablecoin on chain, you have to hold $1 in an account. This kind of makes sense. It's called one-to-one backing. A few years ago, there was a theory that you didn't have to do this one-to-one backing. You could set up an algorithm that would keep the two things matched. The term people used was algorithmic stablecoin. Do Kwon's company issued one of these algo stables. The algorithm kept the peg for a time, but eventually, despite some behind-the-scenes maneuvering, it lost that peg. Suddenly, $1 of the stablecoin issued by Terraform Labs wasn't equal to $1 in value. This caused a bunch of issues and meant a lot of people lost money. The situation and circumstances around this have led Do Kwon to a 15-year sentence here in the US. It's not really a happy ending for anyone, but it is a good reminder to people that just because something claims to be a stablecoin or claims to be real doesn't mean it is. It's also a good opportunity to point out how much has changed here in 2025 versus even a few years ago. While there remain a lot of risks to trading things on chain, there are ways to kind of accidentally buy the wrong thing or a number of other issues. The landscape has changed dramatically. There's now real US legislation that sets the rules of the road for how stablecoins issued in the United States have to operate. And people have now experienced the failures of algo stablecoins. Nowadays, when you read about the increasing adoption of stablecoins, people really are not talking about algo stables. They're talking about stablecoins that are backed by real assets. Initially, this was just an industry trend and a realization among end users that that's kind of the safest way to do this. Second, it's also become a matter of law in the United States. So if you made it to the end of this long story, I just want to leave you with a couple things. First, the landscape really has changed, so you don't need to be quite as careful maybe when you're operating on chain. The risks are dramatically lower if you're using a major stablecoin issued by a US issuer. Second, you should still always be careful. This is true of any financial transaction. Personally, I use USDC. It comes from publicly traded US issuers. The main thing is if for some reason you hear about an algo stable, maybe just stay away. And increasingly you can turn to US issuers. This is one of those interesting examples of where regulatory clarity is actually good, not just for the government, but actually more importantly for consumers. It also turns out to reward the companies that were doing kind of the best practices the whole time.